Most people believe that after 70, losing strength is simply part of getting older, that muscles shrink, energy fades, and there's nothing to be done except slow down and accept it. That's what families are told. That's what most people expect. But after more than 15 years working with patients over 70, watching them either regain their strength or quietly lose it, I can tell you that's not the full story. Muscle loss after 70 rarely happens because of age alone. It happens because of something far more ordinary, something that shows up on your plate every single evening without anyone realizing its importance. Dinner. And here is what surprises almost every family I speak with. The dinner you eat tonight is either helping your body rebuild what it lost today, or it's quietly letting that loss continue. Tonight, I'm going to show you 3 foods most people over 70 either avoid or eat far too rarely, that your body needs at dinner to maintain real physical strength. Then I'll show you exactly how to bring them onto your plate starting tonight. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn may be the difference between staying independent and slowly losing the ability to do the things you love. Here's something most people don't know. Your body doesn't build or maintain muscle the same way it did at 40 or even 50. After 70, a condition called anabolic resistance sets in. In simple terms, your muscles become less responsive to the protein you eat. You may be eating what looks like a perfectly reasonable amount of protein, and your body still isn't using it efficiently to maintain strength. On top of that, digestion itself changes. Stomach acid production declines. Digestive enzymes become less abundant. The gut lining absorbs nutrients less efficiently than it once did. So even when the protein is there, your body has a harder time breaking it down and putting it to use. This is exactly why so many people over 70 lose noticeable strength within a year or two. Not because they stopped trying, but because their evening meals were never adjusted to match what an aging digestive system and an aging muscular system actually require. And dinner matters more than any other meal for this specific reason. Muscle repair and rebuilding largely happens overnight while you sleep, which means the protein and nutrients available in your bloodstream at bedtime directly determine how much rebuilding your body can actually do. An inadequate or poorly chosen dinner means your body goes into its most important repair window with almost nothing to work with. There's another piece of this that most people never hear from their own doctor. Protein isn't just about the total amount you eat across a full day. It's about how that protein is distributed meal by meal. Many people over 70 unintentionally load most of their protein into breakfast or lunch. A boiled egg in the morning, a bit of chicken at midday, and then quietly drift towards something light and starchy by dinner. Soup from a can, toast, a small bowl of pasta. On paper, the daily total might look adequate. But because muscle rebuilding depends heavily on what's circulating in your bloodstream, specifically at bedtime, a light, low-protein dinner creates a nightly gap that adds up night after night, month after month, without ever showing an obvious symptom until strength has already been lost. Let's talk about the first food, because this is the one that surprises people the most. Soft-cooked eggs. Not scrambled hard, not fried until crisp, but gently cooked, soft-boiled, poached, or lightly scrambled. Here's why this matters so much for someone over 70. Eggs contain one of the most complete protein profiles of any food, meaning they supply all 9 essential amino acids in proportions your body can use efficiently. But more importantly for muscle maintenance, eggs are unusually rich in an amino acid called leucine. Leucine acts almost like a trigger switch for muscle protein synthesis, the biological process your body uses to rebuild muscle tissue. Research on older adults has consistently shown that because of anabolic resistance, people over 70 need a higher leucine threshold to actually trigger this rebuilding process compared to someone younger. Most standard protein servings simply don't clear that threshold. Eggs, gram for gram, are one of the most efficient ways to reach it. And because they're soft in texture when properly cooked, they require far less mechanical digestion and far less stomach acid to break down than a tough piece of steak or dense bread, which matters enormously once digestive capacity has declined. 2 soft-cooked eggs at dinner, alongside your other food, is often enough to meaningfully support this process. Researchers studying muscle protein synthesis in older adults have found that spreading protein more evenly across meals, rather than concentrating it at breakfast or lunch, leads to noticeably better preservation of lean muscle mass over time. Eggs make this redistribution simple, because unlike a full portion of meat or fish, they can be prepared quickly, in small quantities, and added to almost any evening meal without requiring extra planning. There is also a practical advantage that matters more as people get older. Eggs are gentle on appetite. Many people over 70 experience a natural decline in hunger signals, sometimes called the anorexia of aging, which makes large dinners feel unappealing even when the body still needs the nutrients. A couple of soft-cooked eggs deliver a concentrated dose of usable protein without requiring someone to eat a large volume of food they may not have much appetite for in the first place. Does your current dinner include eggs, or have you been saving them exclusively for breakfast? You might be surprised how much of a difference simply moving them to your evening plate can make. Now, I need you to pay close attention to this next point, because this is where many families unintentionally do their loved ones a disservice. Fish, particularly fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, or sardines, prepared by baking or steaming rather than frying. Many people over 70 quietly avoid fish because of bones, strong smells, or simply habit, and replace it with foods that are easier to prepare but far less useful for maintaining strength. Here's what fish provides that few other foods can match. Fatty fish is rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which do something remarkable for aging muscle. As we age, a low-grade chronic inflammation develops throughout the body, a process researchers often call inflammaging. This background inflammation actively interferes with muscle protein synthesis, essentially working against the very process eggs and other proteins are trying to support. Omega-3 fatty acids help reduce this inflammatory burden, which allows the protein you eat to be used more effectively for muscle maintenance rather than being wasted fighting inflammation. On top of that, fish provides high-quality, complete protein in a texture that flakes apart easily, requiring minimal chewing and minimal digestive effort compared to red meat. Studies looking at dietary patterns in older adults have associated regular fish consumption, roughly 2 to 3 servings per week, with meaningfully better preservation of muscle mass and physical function compared to diets low in fish. The preparation matters as much as the fish itself. Baking or steaming with olive oil, lemon, and soft herbs keeps the texture tender and the nutrients intact, while frying adds unnecessary digestive burden and often destroys some of the beneficial fats. Do you currently eat fish at dinner even once or twice a week? If the honest answer is rarely or never, this is likely one of the biggest gaps in your evening plate. There's one more reason fatty fish deserves a regular place at dinner. Specifically, fish like salmon and mackerel are among the few natural food sources of vitamin D, a nutrient that doesn't just support bone density, but also plays a direct role in muscle fiber function. Low vitamin D levels are extremely common in adults over 70, partly because skin becomes less efficient at producing it from sunlight with age, and low levels have been repeatedly linked in research to weaker grip strength, slower walking speed, and a higher risk of falls. Pairing a protein source that also happens to supply vitamin D means your dinner is doing double duty, supporting both the muscle and the skeletal structure that muscle depends on to keep you upright and steady. Now let's talk about the third food, and this one ties everything together in a way that surprises almost everyone I explain it to. A warm, soft lentil or vegetable-based soup, ideally including a source of plant protein like lentils, split peas, or soft-cooked beans. Here's why this matters specifically for someone over 70. First, hydration. Many older adults reduce their fluid intake in the evening for the same reason they reduce fluids before bed, wanting to avoid nighttime bathroom trips. But dehydration doesn't only affect blood viscosity and cardiovascular strain. It also directly affects muscle function. Muscle tissue is roughly 75% water, and even mild dehydration reduces strength, coordination, and the muscle's ability to repair itself overnight. A warm soup delivers meaningful fluid volume without feeling like you're simply drinking a large glass of water, which many people find easier to tolerate in the evening. Second, fiber and gut health. Digestive transit slows with age, and a sluggish gut reduces nutrient absorption across the board, including the very proteins from your eggs and fish that you're relying on for muscle repair. Lentils and legumes provide soluble fiber that supports healthier gut bacteria and smoother digestion, which in turn improves how efficiently your body extracts and uses nutrients from everything else you eat that evening. Third, Lentils themselves provide a meaningful dose of plant-based protein and minerals like magnesium and potassium, both of which play a direct role in muscle contraction and preventing the cramping many older adults experience at night. And because the ingredients are slow cooked until soft, this entire dish requires almost no mechanical digestion effort, making it one of the gentlest ways to deliver protein, fiber, and hydration, all in a single bowl. There's one more detail worth knowing about how these legumes are prepared. Raw or undercooked lentils and beans contain compounds that can interfere with mineral absorption, but slow cooking them until genuinely soft breaks these compounds down, which means a well-simmered soup doesn't just taste better, it actually allows your body to absorb more of the iron, zinc, and magnesium inside those legumes, all of which support both energy levels and normal muscle contraction. This is part of why a rushed, half-cooked lentil dish provides far less benefit than the same ingredients simmered slowly for 30 or 40 minutes until they practically dissolve on the spoon. Does your evening routine include enough fluid and enough fiber? Or have you been quietly cutting both back without realizing the effect on your strength? When you put these three foods together, what you actually have is a complete strength-preserving dinner plate. Soft-cooked eggs for a concentrated, easily digestible dose of leucine-rich protein. Baked or steamed fish 2 to 3 times a week for complete protein and anti-inflammatory support. And a warm lentil or vegetable soup for hydration, fiber, and gentle plant protein that ties the entire meal together. None of this requires a complicated diet overhaul. A realistic evening might look like this: 2 soft-cooked eggs with a slice of soft whole-grain bread, 3 or 4 nights a week. Baked salmon or another fatty fish with soft-cooked vegetables, 2 to 3 nights a week. And a bowl of lentil or vegetable soup served alongside either dish, most nights of the week, both for its own benefits and to round out hydration for the evening. This isn't about eating more food or forcing down large portions. It's about making sure the food that is eaten at dinner is doing real, measurable work for the body overnight. Here's what a simple version of this looks like across a real evening. Around 5:30, take a few minutes to decide which of the 3 foods will anchor tonight's plate. This small planning step is often what prevents the slide into toast or cereal, simply because nothing was ready. By 6, begin cooking and lean on gentle methods: baking, steaming, or slow simmering, all of which keep textures soft and nutrients intact without added effort. By 6:30 or 7, sit down to eat, ideally without rushing, since slower eating gives a naturally slower digestive system more time to keep up. If soup is part of tonight's meal, let it be the first thing you eat. It helps ease the stomach into the rest of the meal and adds valuable fluid before you even reach the eggs or fish. By 8, the kitchen work is done, and the evening becomes about rest rather than more food, a short walk, a conversation, something calm. This entire plan takes no more effort than what most people already spend preparing dinner. The only real change is intention, choosing ingredients that work for your body rather than whatever happens to be quickest to open. I want to speak to you honestly for a moment, not simply as someone presenting information, but based on what I've actually seen in patients. I've sat across from people in their 70s and 80s who came in after a fall, a hip fracture, a hospitalization that left them weaker than before they went in, and in case after case, when we looked closely at their evening meals in the months leading up to that fall, the pattern was strikingly similar. Small, low-protein dinners, toast and tea, a bowl of cereal because it felt easy to prepare for one person, skipped meals because cooking alone didn't feel worth the effort anymore. Quiet, gradual muscle loss that nobody noticed until a fall made it impossible to ignore. One woman in her late 70s told me she'd stopped cooking real dinners for herself years earlier, ever since her husband passed, because cooking for one felt pointless. Toast and tea most nights. A fall in her kitchen led to a fractured wrist and a hospital stay, and when we looked back, the pattern was unmistakable. And I've also seen the other side of this. Patients who, sometimes after a scare, started deliberately rebuilding their evening meals around real protein and real nourishment, and who regained strength, balance, and independence that everyone assumed was gone for good. That same woman, 3 months after adding eggs and a simple lentil soup back into her evenings, walked into her follow-up appointment without the cane she'd been using since the fall. The difference in almost every case wasn't medication. It wasn't a dramatic new exercise program. It was dinner, night after night, quietly doing its job. Muscle loss after 70 is not simply the inevitable cost of aging. In many cases, It is the result of an evening plate that stopped matching what an aging body actually requires. And that is something almost entirely within your control, starting with tonight's meal. So let's bring this together clearly. 3 foods, 3 reasons, 1 simple evening plan. First, soft-cooked eggs, several evenings a week, for a concentrated and easily digestible source of the leucine your muscles need to rebuild. Second, baked or steamed fatty fish, 2 to 3 times a week, for complete protein and the anti-inflammatory support that helps your body actually use that protein instead of losing it to background inflammation. Third, a warm lentil or vegetable soup, most evenings, for the hydration, fiber, and gentle plant protein that ties the entire meal together and supports the digestion of everything else on your plate. Simple ingredients, gentle preparation, real impact. None of these 3 foods require special shopping trips, expensive supplements, or complicated recipes. Just a small, consistent shift in what shows up on the plate each evening, repeated night after night, until it simply becomes how dinner is done. Now I'd like to ask you something directly, and I'd genuinely love to see your answer in the comments below. Which of these 3 foods do you already eat regularly, and which one has been missing from your dinner table? I have a feeling at least one of them will surprise you, and if you realize you've been skipping all 3, you're far from alone. Most of the families I speak with are doing exactly that, without ever realizing the effect it's having. The difference now is that you know exactly what to add back. If you found this helpful, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. A parent, a grandparent, an older neighbor who lives alone and cooks small, simple meals night after night without much thought to what those meals are actually providing. Send this to them tonight, not next week. Strength built or lost happens one dinner at a time, and every evening is another chance to give your body what it actually needs to keep you steady, capable, and independent. One final thought. Everything shared here is general nutritional information based on current research on aging, muscle health, and digestion. It is not a substitute for personalized medical or dietary advice. If you have kidney disease, swallowing difficulties, food allergies, or any other condition that affects your diet, please speak with your doctor or a registered dietitian before making changes to your eating pattern. That isn't just a formality, it's sincere advice, because the goal here is genuinely to help you stay strong, capable, and independent for many more years to come. Take care of your strength tonight. Start with dinner.